Yeah, that looks good. Yep. Okay. Yeah, hi. Here we go. Whenever I practice brushes, and by the way, this is what I'm still working on, and this is all digital brushes. This is all tablet work. The goal of this is to make it look as much like a painting as possible. This is being done with a set of over 300 brushes downloaded from, it's all in one pack, downloaded from the internet. And the goal is to produce a digital painting. All right, so I'm just going to close that out. How to get there? Well, brushes. Brushes, brushes, brushes. Create new, 5x5, 300 white. Sure, why not? Keep this locked, make a blank layer. I can't emphasize it enough. When you're practicing digital brushes, make a blank layer, right, with that plus icon. B is the hotkey. Take a look here. You've got brush tool, right click, pencil, skip it. Color replacement, skip it. We're going to talk about the brush tool and the mixer brush tool. The mixer brush tool is insanely awesome. It's like painting. And by the way, that picture I just showed you, that's the mixer brush tool. It mixes colors in a very painterly style. Let's first start with the brush tool. We already talked briefly about digital brushes, the second drop down here. Sorry. You guys have the general brushes. You can open the folder by opening the little arrow there. You've got your soft round and your hard round. I'm going to open up the soft round. You can choose your color here. Not this background color thing here, okay? Just this, the foreground, the front one. Click, choose your color. So if you can paint with any color you want or draw with any color. I shouldn't use the word paint because you can draw too. So the purpose of the tablet is to mimic natural handwork, right? Natural sketching. Opacity and flow. Flow is the amount, I don't really, honestly, I'd have to Google it. I can't fully explain flow. Opacity is how hard you're pressing down. So there's 100% and there's pressing light. This little thing that looks like a fly swatter, click it. And if I hover my cursor over it, it says, always use pen pressure for opacity. All right. Whoa, that's nice. I'm barely touching the Wacom tablet right now. You notice my opacity is 100. Shouldn't it be coming out full strength? Yes, but except for the fly swatter is on. I'm just going to call it the fly swatter. I don't know what it's called. Now I'm pressing heavy. So how awesome is this for shading and blending colors if the fly swatter is on? I can really, really shade and blend and mix by just pressing light and heavy. That's a very limited brush. That's just it just comes with Photoshop. They're in the general brushes. Hard round, soft round, pressure size. Okay, so this one gets smaller when you, I don't really know the difference actually. I'm not really a big fan of that. Soft round, pressure opacity. I think that still just does the same thing. As long as you click this little fly swatter, it will measure how hard you press on the tablet. I've done a lot of work. Clear it, drag it to the trash, make a new one, plus. You see how easy it is when you're working on a blank layer. Let's take a look at, I'm going to close out the general. Let's open the dry media brushes. We've got Kyle. This guy's famous. He's created all these brushes. But what the heck is this little icon right here? That means brush. 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 That means it's actually an eraser. Pay attention to that. Let's look at Kyle's drawing box, Happy HB. Pressing heavy, pressing light. Again, opacity control is so wonderful. What's that hotkey for making my brush bigger? The right, yeah, the right and left bracket keys there. And you can see, look at that nice texture. A really nice texture coming out. These brushes are, in fact, different. It is important to get to know the brushes because this actually was created to mimic a drawing HB pencil. What about this Pastel Palooza? Let's put the fly swatter on. Barely pressing, pressing heavy, barely pressing, pressing heavy. Barely pressing, pressing heavy. You get the idea. I'm going to zoom out just one that's a little close. But what about this next one? Kyle's, no. Forget about the eraser. Just skip, that erases. Okay, we already know what an eraser is. There's also an eraser tool. It's the hotkey E. Let's close the dry media and open up the wet media. Okay. Again, these symbols. That's a brush. That's a brush. It looks like a brush. This one's a smudge. It's called Kyle's Paintbox Wet Blender 50. Now what it's going to do, at a strength of 90%, and you can reduce that strength, it will mix all of that together. Adobe Photoshop has come a long, long way. It is super technologically advanced compared to what it used to be brush-wise. It really, really is. So actually, it's not going to give me any color because this is actually a blender. You see that symbol right there? It looks like a finger. It's a smudge. There's actually a smudge tool. See, actually, it took me to the smudge tool. It's called the smudge tool. So that's a brush created to smudge. If you don't want it, just skip it. Ooh, what's this next one? Kyle's Real Oils -01. And you see a symbol. It looks almost like the brush tool, but in fact, it's the mixer brush. You guys are going to freak out with this whole mixer brush thing because it's just amazing. It really, really is. It mixes like paint. Okay, and yes, these settings are important. The settings, I don't know if you noticed, but they suddenly changed. Wet 90%, load 100, mix 35%, flow 100. I'll be honest, I usually just play around with it's totally up to you though. And by the way, these little things are important too. You just have to play with them. You have to get to know them by messing around with them. The more you do, okay, right now it's wet. Now I'm going to take this wet down to 22, load way down, mix way down, flow way down. There's a little more control there. You can turn one of these things on. I don't even know what that does. What does that do? You can paint. You can paint just like with a real paintbrush without getting your hands dirty in Mr. Kurtz's painting class. You can paint on the computer. Tell me that doesn't look like paint. It does. You can't tell me that because it does. It looks like paint. I can even put a fake digital texture on that to make it look like it's impasto paint raised up off of the canvas. It's crazy what you can do with these things. All right, that's just the brush tool. Now, look at mine. Oil and acrylic brushes by MA. Look at this. This is what I've been using. It's taken me a long time to get to know these brushes. I honestly haven't counted, but I know that there are definitely over grass. No, I don't want to mess with the grass ones. Leaves. There are definitely over 200 brushes in there. Um, let's do this. Watch this. Brusheasy.com. You guys remember that, right? All right, let's do this. Oil, paint, enter. Here we go. These are the free ones. Mine I had to pay for. But if you want some really nice painterly like looking brushes, why did my face suddenly pop up? Has this been sitting here the whole time? Oh, get away. Go. It's like Monday morning. I don't want to see my face. Acrylic paint. Painter. Look at all these. I mean, take your pick. Oil spill. And they're all created with textures to make it look like actual brushes. Feel free to mess around with any of these. Remember how to download them. You just click and then you do the download. You open them up and you can play around with them. I'm going to clear that. I'm going to open this up. All right. So, in summary, I could spend the entire period today on this demonstration while everyone falls asleep, or I can just summarize a couple of things. B is the hotkey for the brush tool. The top one is just a plain old brush tool. Click that little fan-looking bullseye, fly swatter, whatever you want to call it, and that will help you control. Oh, look at that. Look at how cool that is. I don't even know what brush I'm on right now. I'm on the regular brush tool. Look at this. Which one? I don't even know what I'm on, but this is so cool. The brush tool with the fly swatter. And you can do digital drawing and digital painting. Or you can jump directly to the mixer brush. I highly recommend you play around with it. It's the bottom one. And you can choose a brush to mix with. You can mix with any of these. Choose one of Kyle's brushes. Hey Kyle, how you doing today? We're gonna paint with one of your brushes. No, you know what? I take that back. Kyle's brushes are defaulted. Sorry. If you want the mixer brush, you're just gonna have to. I would recommend downloading brushes from the internet or just using the general brushes. Yeah, because the Kyle ones are actually set to only do what Kyle wants to allow you to do. And I'm not liking Kyle very much anymore. Play around with these options. All right, so here's the last of my speech. And I'll leave this on recording for other classes. The drawing tablets, it's mandatory. You're going to have to use them for your line project that you're going to start. I've got 17 of the really good ones, but all of them are basically good. Allow yourself enough time at the end of class to put them away neatly. Okay. Ooh, the way that mixes. I'll lock that. Cool. That is the end of the brush Wacom drawing tablet demonstration. You will really learn by doing it on your own, not from listening to me talk. The way to do it is to just jump right into it. All right. So end of this one.